Hi everyone. First of all, thanks for joining today's webinar. We appreciate you spending a little time with us today. Hopefully you're here because you're using Geomagic Control today and you want to find out if making the move to Control X is right for you. We'll keep things moving fast with a quick rundown of exactly what Control X is, what it does differently than Control, and why we encourage you to make the move. And then for the fun part, we're going to walk you through an inspection in Control X, and my colleague Adam will explain how they're similar and how they're different. We'll also cover things you'll need to keep in mind as you make the move, and we'll leave time for questions at the end. Please also note that the webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you a link to watch the recording later, so you don't have to furiously take notes. You can also share the webinar with your colleagues as you make the decision to make the move to Control X. So many of you probably know that 3D Systems created the leading 3D scanning software business when it acquired both RapidForm and Geomagic a few years ago. Bringing together two different companies with two different code bases wasn't easy for us or quite frankly for you. There were different products and we went through some renaming and discontinuing of things. But we also worked hard in the background to take the very best of Control and combine it with the very best of Verify, the former RapidForm XOV, and the result of that is Control X. It's taken a lot of effort from some very talented people, but we're now proud to show you Control X 2018, which is the second version of Control X that thousands of people have already adopted. Okay, so why make the move? There are many reasons, but I'm going to highlight 5 of the most important today. Number 1, Control X 2018 is faster. Not a little bit faster, a lot faster. And I'll explain more about that in the next slide. Number 2 is that Control X gives you more flexibility to inspect the way you want. Number 3, Control X has better probing support than Control. So if you've got a portable CMM arm, you're going to love what's possible in Control X. Number 4, a whole bunch of new features are in Control X that aren't in Control. And more importantly, all of our development effort for inspection is concentrated on Control X. So many more new features are on their way. And number 5, just like the new features, Control X supports more scanners with better interfaces than Control. And this is only going to continue to improve over time. All right, so let's dive into each of these 5 reasons a bit more. Let's talk first about one of the biggest reasons to move to Control X, which is speed. Speed is made up of the time it takes you to actually click through the software plus the time needed to perform operations. We all know how big scan data sets can bog down a PC. In fact, you've probably been able to get up and go get a cup of coffee while you've waited for Control to do certain things like align heavy scans to nominal models. The 2018 version of Control X benefits from some really exceptional speed improvements that are rolling out across a variety of 3D Systems software. For a typical workflow, we've found that Control X is up to 3 times as fast as Control across all operations. That doesn't mean that everything is faster or every data set is necessarily faster, but on average, in the testing that we've done, we've seen that you can expect significantly faster calculation times on a lot of different data sets. And just as important as those calculation times is how quick it is to actually click through the software. And Control X's interface is great for that too. You'll see in the demo that Adam's going to do just how easy it is to move around in the software and get what you need done. The next thing is that you can work more flexibly in Control X. Have you ever forgotten to add a certain dimension or realized that you want to measure something slightly differently or align something differently after you've built a report in Control? Then you know that sometimes it's hard to go back and edit or add things without throwing off a bunch of your inspection results. So Control X's underlying architecture makes this just about impossible to mess up. You can go back to anything you've done at any point in Control X, change it, add to it, delete it, whatever, and Control X will simply recalculate and rebuild the inspection automatically and error-free. And I mentioned earlier on that Control X has better hard probing and scanning capability. Adam will go into more detail on each of these features, but suffice it to say, you can do more and do it faster in Control X when it comes to using a portable CMM arm or any probing device. And there are a whole slew of new features in Control X that you don't have today in Control. So the new features that are not available in Control that are in Control X, and again, you're going to see all of these in more detail as Adam goes through the demo, but they're CAD-style 3D dimensioning, more intuitive GD&T callouts, rebuildable inspection, multi-alignment, multi-result, and result navigator, which all kind of combine together to offer a really great capability that you're able to go through and iterate on your inspections and check out different options very easily and repeat things very easily. And then updated scanning hardware support. That's the last major reason I'm going to go through today. Ultimately, we continue to update and refine Control X's scanner and probing interfaces, so you always get the latest hardware support and a better overall experience. And another important thing is that all device interfaces are built into Control X. No more downloading and installing individual plugins and updates to those plugins for your particular scanner. And as with everything about Control X, these will continue to be updated and improved going forward. So when you make the move to Control X, you're setting yourself up for the future. All right. So it's clear that there are a bunch of new things that you get by moving to Control X, but do you lose anything by making the move? Well, the short answer is no, because you aren't giving up your control license when you start using Control X. You get to keep both and can continue to use both per your licensing agreement. The longer answer is that Control X, being a different product than Control, does some things differently and doesn't have 100% functionality overlap with Control. We've worked hard to make sure that all of the tools you use every day in Control are in Control X. So things like data import, cleanup, alignment, comparisons, and reporting are equivalent or better in Control X. And we've recently added some really awesome things from Control, such as turbine blade inspection at no extra cost. But it is important to point out a few things that aren't in Control X. The first is script-based automation and customization. If you know how to code in Python, you can automate and customize lots of inspection processes in Control. Since not everyone knows Python, and we want more people to be able to use the software in an automated fashion, we approach automation in a different way in Control X. Most of the inspection steps you can do in Control X are automatically repeatable without any coding. Every inspection you do is just inherently repeatable without any effort. And Adam's going to show you a little bit about how that looks and feels in the product. But if you have complex derivative calculations or interface with third-party applications via scripting in Control, you won't be able to do that in Control X. In other words, if you've been using custom scripting in Control to automate your inspections, you'll be able to do that in Control X. But if you've been using the custom scripting to customize and do things that the software can't do out of the box, you likely won't be able to replicate that in Control X. The other really important thing to note is that Control X will import all of your existing wrap files, WRP files, from Control, but only the scan and CAD data are going to come in. Your alignments, reference geometry, deviation analyses, and reports, those will need to be rebuilt if you want to do those in Control X going forward. But again, it really is important to note that you're never giving up your Control license when you make the move over to Control X. You get to keep both. So you can always go back and access any older files using the Control software. Okay, next slide, please. So how much will it cost? If you're on maintenance for Control, you can download and use Control X right now at no cost. It's not going to cost you anything. You can just immediately go and download it, install it, and start using it. If you're off maintenance, it's just the cost of reinstating that maintenance. So you should go ahead and contact your reseller or your 3D Systems rep for a price quote. Next slide. And so what's going to happen to Control going forward? Well, the very short summary here is that Control isn't going to be updated going forward anymore. You will be able to get support on the product as long as you have maintenance, right? So we'll always answer your questions and help you continue to use the product as we have been. There just aren't going to be any bug fixes or updates to scanner interfaces or new features added to Control going forward, which is why we really do recommend you make the move over to Control X. Okay, so with all of that, now we get into the workflow, the demo. So Adam, you want to hop on and get started?
Hop over here. So notice right away we come into Control X. The interface looks a lot different, but in a lot of ways it's still the same. So we still have our ribbon bar at the top here. It is fully customizable to do anything you'd want to do with workflows. You will notice in Control X that tabs do not sort of come and go depending on what you have selected in the model manager here, because we're not object-based. So everything is essentially up all the time, and you don't have to click objects to trigger things. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is some of that stuff Tom was mentioning about file import here, is we did add lots of new file types, and there's all kinds of stuff going on in here. I do want to mention that one of the things that we did just upgrade is the ability to do E57 file support, which is a new STM point cloud standard. It's going to be a new container for a lot of file types in the future, and we're already on the ball with that. So the first thing we'll do here is pull in just STL of some scan data. You will notice right away you can do some custom things right off the bat. So if you wanted to change units, maybe somebody's sending you a bad mesh already, we can strip the points out already and always remesh in our program here automatically. Convert all that stuff right off the bat. So we can bring in our scan data set here. There's an old scan of the old rusty cast part here. So we're going to inspect. Thing you'll notice right away is this is brought in automatically as measured data, as it is a scan file. And if we were going to do straight up scan inspection of just this, or we were going to do a scan to scan, we would push that to reference. And when we do that, we can choose options to automatically essentially region group this part, so it'll go through and look for parametric surfaces and things like that. What that does is it gives us the ability as a reference object so that we can click on faces and cylinders and things like that directly and use them as CAD objects for our dimensioning. And I'll show you how our dimensioning works in a little bit here. Next, we'll just import our CAD data. And I'm just bringing in a step file at this point. So here's our basic model of our part. And what I'd like to talk about with this guy is, again, we can edit some things right off the bat. And we could also edit things as just data inputs if we had multiple pieces of CAD or multiple pieces of scan data in our input tab here to set up for multiple results. And I'll talk more about multiple results later on. So let's get right into our hardware support, as Tom was talking about. So again, there is none of those wrap style plugins that you have to download that we're creating as an interface. All of them are canned and plugged in, so you can come in and select whatever device you like and connect to it. The only thing you would need to download is just your hardware-specific drivers from the hardware manufacturer. Settings are right up front, and then we have structured light devices broken out over here. So let's talk about some of our live tools here. So these are a lot of things that are very different from Control. Live Align is just that. It's to align your portable CMM with your CAD model. You just basically click it, and then we can select whatever it is we want to probe on our CAD model and align our hardware device to our global coordinate system with our CAD model. Live Capture is your one-stop shop just to grab data if you want to scan and probe around. Just collect all of that data. Live Dimension is a very cool tool. What it allows you to do is come in and probe pretty much anything. So it's really handy on the shop floor. So if I just wanted to know a bolt circle, or I wanted to know some cylinder diameters, I wanted to do some quick checks on some stuff, I can come in, hit live dimension, and just start probing features. One cool thing about our new probing of features is it's all auto feature creation. So I can come in, just start probing cylinders, planes, things like that. Software is automatically going to detect what I'm probing, verify it with me, and lock it in. And if I probe something like a cylinder, it's going to give me a diameter. If I probe this plane and then this plane, it's going to automatically throw a linear dimension up between them, or an angular dimension if need be, things like that. So it is all very intuitive, easy to move around it. Really quick way just to grab information on the shop floor, or do an initial part inspection. Live geometry is just that. Same deal without the dimensions. So if I just want to come in and probing parametric features, again, auto feature creation with live geometry. Again, I can probe in 3D and 2D, which I can also do in live dimension. And I can switch between doing 3D cylinders or 2D circles right on the fly with my probing device. So very, very cool, powerful tool, really quick way to grab stuff in. And get stuff measured right away. So first thing we're going to do, you notice that is a little bit different here, is we have this initial alignment button. So this is really like a far-reaching alignment that was in Control, but what it's doing is it's looking out very far. Oftentimes if you just scan or probe data in and you don't pre-align it with a CAD model or something like that, you need something that's going to globally look out and grab that data. And then just like any other inspection, we'll do a quick best fit here just to really tighten up all of our data to our CAD model and get it to fit really well. You'll notice right now I don't have ref and test. I don't have to set those. I don't have to click on our reference or measured data. It's all active all the time. So it really increases just like how fast you can do things. And like I mentioned before, the tabs aren't going anywhere on the top. So I don't have to click on our reference data and then say align to this reference data. I can just click the button. It's intuitive. It's easy to get that stuff done. So right now we'll just run through our color map if we like. Again, sort of standard 3D compare features that we have here. You'll notice processing time, even over WebEx here, is much quicker than it is on in Control. So it pops right up. We do have some more options in here in the menus, and you'll notice the benefit of these submenus is the fact is like I can manage my features all the time. I can always turn stuff on and off. No more right-clicking to hide and things like that, or going back out of dialog commands to manipulate things. So when I come right in here, I can also just start picking points of interest right away if I'd like on my model. So I can come in and just start grabbing tags and highlighting areas that I didn't want. So maybe this looks pretty good here. I'm going to grab a point just on here just for fun and say OK on that. Again, right away, all of our reviews, since we're not doing like reference frame views on everything, we can automatically update stuff as we come along with our part to figure out what we're going to see in our report. These are basically all screenshot views. Every object has one, and it's really easy to come along and go through things. Again, feature tree based, so it's really easy to break out and adjust any items individually. The other thing I want to do is say, I look on my CAD data here, and I don't actually have the inner part of this cylinder drawn. So what I'm actually going to do is just hide my 3D compare here, and let's just remove this for fun. So there's something in Control that may have been a little bit different. So if we come over into our data tab here, if it's measured, we have a lot of features you'll recognize for line between scan data, filling holes, we leave the defeature in, stuff like that for maybe getting rid of some stamped on items or something that we may not want or have on our CAD model. We can do those things still in here. Clean up our meshes, but so what I'm actually going to do is come in and just highlight some of my data here of some things that I might want to get rid of. So we'll just, for the sake of the demonstration, pull out some of this data here, and I'm just going to pull that entity out in the center because it's just not on our CAD. It's just a red blob on our color map if we don't exclude the data. Now when I hit OK, now that I remove that, you'll see this is where our nonlinear inspection really comes into play. So once I edit things, as I change things along, if I do different alignment processes, things like that, I just hit rebuild, and it's going to come in and it's going to recalculate all of my results that I've done so far, and it's going to update. Now, I could choose to sort of ignore that rebuild as long as I want. If I'm constantly working on the part, I don't have to come in and stop my process and let it rebuild. I can just wait until I'm done the things that I want to upgrade and then let it rebuild. So you'll notice there's a part missing in the center here. I don't have a big red blob there anymore. So let's come in and grab some 3D dimensions. I'm just going to turn off our color map again here so we can see the part. And this is one giant difference from Control, is the ability to do these 3D dimensions really easily. So notice the layout is very much like a CAD program. We can come in and specify what dimensions we want, but the ability to do smart dimensioning is really awesome. So if I come in and grab my faces here, I can just throw dimensions on, say, I want to grab a cylinder diameter. I can do that, place it. You'll notice my tags are changing colors and updating automatically with any of my tolerancing that's on the part. And I can come in and grab some of this stuff here, grab that bottom cylinder, and let's throw a parallelism on this side. But wait, notice I didn't have to select datums, or I didn't have to pull out any CAD features to do this. So we're natively using the CAD as the object. So there's a time where I have to come in and say, like, make all features, or I have to come in and manually select CAD faces and extract them out to use them as entities to measure with. They're here all the time, and because it's not that linear pattern of doing things, I can come in and add datums to whatever I want, whenever I want. So I can come in and say that's datum A. Maybe I want to make my bottom face datum B. I could throw them on without any problems. If I wanted to do a parallelism, I can add a parallelism to datum A. Updates automatically. Say I want to add a flatness to this bottom surface just for fun here. I can put that on. All my tolerancing is like updated. And you'll notice when I create a flatness, since it's actually on a datum feature, we pair the tags together. Creates a much more standard look. It's much cleaner. It allows you to more easily just visually see what's going on here. Now I have these dimensions called out. I did this all in one group. We can break out group dimensions. So if I wanted to have different views of dimensions, different categories, things like that, I can just add them in any time by just clicking the plus, creating different groups. Or I could switch into 2D dimensioning if I want to start creating cross-sections, things like that. Just for the sake of this, we're not going to do it. So you'll notice just how much quicker 3D dimensioning is. It's something they're just going to use a lot more. And the benefit to 3D dimension is kind of obvious, but being able to look at being able to use 3D dimensioning instead of maybe creating a lot of cross sections like you did in the past, just because 3D dimensioning was a little more process to use. Now you'll be looking at whole features rather than just sliced segments of the part and pulling stuff out. So there's a new feature I would like to show here that's very different than in Control, is we have the ability to not just do cross-sections now, we also have the ability to do silhouette deviations, and this is super applicable to this part, but it is something that's very useful for finding parting lines on plastic injection molding parts, to find the edges of those lines in, or maybe on a sheet metal part, you always have taper on the side, so creating a cross-section of a sheet metal part to get the outline of it, to see where the deviation is often it's often not going to give you the whole picture. If I do something like this silhouette here, and I'm just going to kill those dimensions so we can see it better. What it's actually going to do is it's like shining a light down my whole part, essentially. So as you can see, if this was a sheet metal part, it would be tracing that whole outline for me, and it's pulling all of that data out and projecting it to a plane. I can put this plane wherever it is I want it to project to. But because it's giving me the entire outline, it's just giving me a lot more information for how that form is fitting than it is on the, rather than doing a 2D cross-section. So I'm moving here, You'll notice it's going to shine everything through. It's going to calculate all of the surface edges for me. It's going to project that whole outline down to my plane. And then just like you would do a 2D deviation, but instead we're using a silhouette, we can actually do things like adjust whiskers and whisker intensity if we'd like to show off the part. Can exaggerate things as much as we want here. I can pick points of interest on that deviation if I want to, and come in, set tolerancing for them and stuff like that if I have certain areas of interest that I might want to call out. And then hit OK. And again, we can update what this looks like in our actual report, things like that. Put that in. So very, very cool new feature, and really powerful, especially for doing like planar objects and injection molded parts. As I mentioned before, we have the ability to do multiple results. So I did this inspection on this single part here. Say I have another part I want to compare, or I just did a best fit here. Maybe I want to compare that to how I would align to datums if I was looking at an inspection plan or something like that. So I look at my part, I look at my color map here. I can see the fitting, and I can see that it fits pretty well with some of the things that's going on in my tolerance band. But so what I'd actually do here, and I have the ability to duplicate this result. What it's going to actually do is it's going to hit add instead of duplicate. What it's going to do is create everything that I did and recreate it just as another data set. So what I could do is I could come in and either add new data to this, if I had part B, and just rebuild and dump out the information from that. But say I just wanted to change the alignment on this thing to more of a datum alignment. So let me click our bottom plane here. Maybe we'll align to this cylinder. Maybe we'll shift everything to this initial mating CAD phase here. And you'll notice again, I'm clicking right on the CAD. No feature creation necessary for doing any of these things. And now it's going to come through and recalculate, rebuild. It's going to tell me I want to rerun all of my numbers for my measurements and my color map based on that. And while it's calculating this stuff out, you'll notice once we're done here that we're going to have a very different looking color map, and some of our dimensions are also going to look quite differently tolerance-wise, whereas they may have been in tolerance before. Now they are out. Turn my data off here just so we can see that the color map is a lot different. This is great to look at, on the screen right now, and now I have two results, obviously, in the same project file, which is very handy. But the real key comes into being able to view them side by side. So what I can do is come in and just say, you know what, I really need to check out how these things are fitting. And I'm going to push result data 2 over on the right-hand side here. And you'll notice that they come right in, and I can directly compare both of them as if they're the same part. I could also look at 3D GD&Ts and stuff like that, and all of my measurements on the part also, and quickly compare. So it's a really useful tool when you're analyzing stuff, maybe in manufacturing processes, looking for tool wear, things like that. Being able to see things side by side over the course of maybe 100 parts between the two, and seeing what's going on is a really powerful tool in the manufacturing side of things. If I just come back to our standard view here, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. That's a great new feature, is the way we generate reports now is the report actually stays with the CX project file. And you notice this report generator is a little different than in the past. Again, I can pick which result I'd like to report on, pick things that I want and don't want. So maybe I don't want to show an initial alignment. Maybe I don't really need to put in our silhouette deviation either. Maybe those are just for my reference only. And we do still have the ability to add 3D PDF pages, create templates, things like that that we would do in the past. I can pre-fill in all kinds of operator part data and stuff like that for my reports too. And once we generate, we go into this, report layout editor. It's actually a separate window, so it's easy to toggle between here and CX. And these are just some standard views we have of our initial part and our scan data here, coming from CAD model coordinate system, like histogram of our best fit, our 3D compare with data fitting, stuff like that. This is pretty much just a CAN template of what's going on. If I come into our dimensions, just our screenshot of that, and then our results. One really cool thing about the reporting now is it's completely live. So if I go back to my inspection report and change anything, you'll notice there's a rebuild button here. So I can come back, change MOE measurements, change views, change 3D compare, tolerancing or something like that, hit rebuild, and it's automatically going to pull into this report and stay with the CEX project file. If I want to send this thing out, again, we can just shoot it out as a PDF or PowerPoint, Excel. You can also, save things out as just CSV as tabular data, and we can also dump things out as XML as like a save as if you wanted to do SPC on your parts and that stuff of that nature. So really more powerful reporting tools. And again, changing layout is really just drag and drop with the layout editor. So it's very much like using a cross between a PDF editor and Word. Makes things really easy to go over. There's one more feature I wanted to talk about before we move on here, is how we added into CX is a feature called deviation location. We found a lot of users in the past were trying to find things like dents, dings, holes in parts on surfaces, especially in aerospace and in automotive. For their own qualifications. So what we can actually do with just scan data is scan that surface in, create just a mesh of that surface, and then we can actually best fit a NURB surface to that without the deviations in it, and then use all of that information to find stuff like volume, area, depth, position of those deviation locations in our part, and then be able to quickly report on that. So in a matter of a couple button clicks, you can really analyze the surface of a part and see what is going on. So it's another really cool new feature that came into CX recently. And the one thing just to follow up here, so this is kind of a quick overview of a workflow in CX. What I wanted to tell you guys is, unlike Control, this CX, much like our DesignX program, has a full tutorial built in, so you can come through and pick courses. Say we wanted to just look at inspection process with GD&T. It's going to give me my steps here. I can hit next. You will notice that all of our files for examples in this tutorial are all part of the CX install, so you can import them directly into the program and start working with them. Scan and CAD data are both here, and this window itself is undockable, just like everything in our programs is very configurable, so I could drag this to a separate window if I want to come out and work through the tutorial, either for, maybe I just need to refresh myself on a process that I haven't used in a while. Very handy for when after maybe you've had training and then you've had some people come into your department, you need to get them up to speed. This is a really great self-paced tool to use to bring them up to speed quickly, and then you can use your knowledge to add to this and fill in the blanks. So that was a quick, brief overview of some of the differences in CX, and at this point I could throw it back to Tom.
Great, thank you, Adam. Okay, so let's see, there we go. Next steps. So how do you get started? Well, you can download Control X from the Geomagic support site. You can see the URL there is gettingstarted.geomagic.com. Or you can wait for a follow-up email after the webinar. We'll send you the download link in that email. And, as mentioned earlier, if you're on maintenance, you just install and run Control X. And we found that most experienced Control users find it relatively easy to get started with CX after going through a few of those included tutorials. If you're doing some more advanced stuff, we also offer training courses that you can check out on the support site as well. If you're off maintenance, you can try Control X free for, I think it's 15 days. It'll automatically run. And then during that time, you can reach out to your reseller or your 3D Systems rep to find out how to reinstate your maintenance and get Control X.